She didn't leave him because he hurt her. She didn't leave him because he failed her. She left him because he loved her too well, too quietly, too consistently, and she mistook that for emptiness. And the moment she realized what she actually walked away from, it was already too late. He was already gone. Not because he was bitter, not because he was heartbroken, because he finally understood something she never did, and once he got it, everything changed. For both of them, there's a pattern spreading across this generation that almost nobody is talking about honestly. Women walking away from marriages that, by every real-world measure, were working, not toxic marriages, not broken marriages, marriages where the man showed up, stayed loyal, and built something real. And 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years later, those same women are lying awake at 3 in the morning replaying every single moment they threw away. Not because they miss the excitement, because they finally understand there was never anything better waiting on the other side. There was only the illusion of it. So how does a woman go from loving a man to leaving him over reasons that, in hindsight, don't hold up under 5 minutes of honest scrutiny? It starts somewhere most people never examine. It starts with how the human brain responds to repetition. When you first meet someone who genuinely cares about you, every small thing they do feels like proof. He makes you coffee without being asked. That's thoughtful. He remembers something you mentioned 3 weeks ago. That's attention. He shows up when things get hard. That's character. In the beginning, every single one of these moments registers. Your brain is flooded with chemistry. Everything he does lands. Now fast forward 5 years, 10 years. He's still doing every single one of those things. Maybe even more. But your brain stopped registering them somewhere around month 8. The coffee just appears. The remembering just happens. The showing up is just expected now. And what was once evidence of love has quietly become invisible. This is what psychologists call the familiarity devaluation effect. And it is silently dismantling marriages every single day, without either person realizing it's happening. Here's the brutal paradox hidden inside that effect. The very quality that makes a man safe to build a life with. His consistency is the exact same quality that stops generating any emotional response. He's predictable. He's stable. He's reliable. And in a brain wired to seek novelty, reliable starts to feel suffocating. She doesn't think he's a good man. She thinks, is this all there is? And that question, once it plants itself, changes everything about how she sees him. Picture a normal Tuesday in this marriage. He comes home. He asks about her day and actually listens. He helps with dinner without being asked. He plays with the kids. He fixes the thing that's been broken for a week. He picks up groceries she mentioned they needed. Later, he suggests they sit down together. He reaches for her hand. He tells her he loves her. Then they go to bed. And the next morning, it starts again. Same gestures, same care, same man. And somewhere inside the repetition, she begins to feel like she's drowning, not because anything in her life is wrong, but because nothing in her life feels dramatic enough to be worth living. She's not questioning whether he's a good husband. She's questioning whether he's the husband she imagined she'd have. That's where social media walks in and turns a quiet dissatisfaction into a crisis. She opens Instagram. She sees relationships that look like movies, surprise trips, elaborate gestures, couples who seem endlessly fascinated by each other. She's comparing the real, unglamorous behind the scenes of her marriage to the most carefully curated highlights of strangers' lives. And her husband, the man who quietly took out the trash this morning without a word, doesn't stack up to the fantasy she's absorbing every single day. So she posts something vague, something like feeling unappreciated, and the comments flood in from people who know nothing about her life. You deserve so much better. Don't settle. You're worth more than this. These strangers are handing her a narrative, and she's accepting it because it feels validating. Then come the online groups, the forums where women collect grievances like evidence, and the loudest voice in every single one of those spaces says the same thing. If you're not deliriously happy every day, something is wrong. If your husband doesn't predict your emotions telepathically, he's failing you. The idea that commitment means staying through the boring stretches, the difficult stretches, the stretches where the feeling isn't there, but the decision is. That idea is dismissed as settling, as being trapped, as accepting less than you deserve. So she starts building her case. He didn't react with enough enthusiasm when she told him something exciting. That becomes emotional neglect. He needed 30 minutes of quiet after work. That becomes avoidance. He stopped planning surprise dates because he's working 60-hour weeks to pay the mortgage. That becomes him giving up. Every normal, human, imperfect moment gets reframed as evidence that he isn't enough, that someone out there would love her the way movies promise love works. And here's what she never stops to question. She's confusing stability with boredom. She's reading his calm as apathy. She's interpreting his comfort around her as a sign that something is missing. But what she's actually looking at is a man who loves her enough to be himself. A man who doesn't need to perform because he already knows she's his. And she's deciding that the absence of performance means the absence of feeling. Now let's talk about the expectation that's been quietly poisoning this from the start. Modern women grew up inside a world that taught them exactly what love is supposed to look like. Romantic comedies where the man always knows exactly the right thing to say. Romance novels where passion never fades. Social media couples who appear to be living inside a permanent highlight reel. Viral proposal videos that set an emotional standard no real relationship could sustain for more than a few months. The result is a fantasy blueprint that got absorbed as the baseline, not as entertainment, as the actual standard. So when her real husband, the one who's exhausted from working, who's dealing with his own stress, who's trying his best inside a life that doesn't come with a script, when he doesn't perform like a leading man, he's not failing at being a good husband. He's failing at being the fantasy. And fantasy always wins in that comparison because fantasy doesn't have flaws. Fantasy doesn't have bad days. Fantasy doesn't have a mortgage. She tells him she feels disconnected. He says, "What do you need from me?" A completely normal question. A reasonable, loving response. But it's not the response from the movie. In the movie, he would already know. He would sense something was off and orchestrate something perfect without being asked. So his honesty, his willingness to actually listen to what she needs, feels like proof that he doesn't truly understand her. She mentions she's been stressed. He says, "Do you want to talk about it?" Again, a genuine offer. But in the fantasy, he would take over. He would fix it without her having to say a word. His real care feels smaller than the imagined version, and eventually, nothing he does can close that gap. He's losing a competition he doesn't even know exists. So she makes the decision. She leaves. And for a while, for a real, genuine while, It feels like the right call. The freedom hits differently when you've been inside. Routine for years. No one to answer to. No schedule that revolves around someone else's needs. She's rediscovering herself, as the internet puts it. She posts about her journey. The comments pour in, supportive, celebratory, encouraging. And then she starts dating. New faces. New energy. New conversations that haven't been had 100 times before. Men who look at her like she's the most interesting person in the room, because to them, she is. Everything feels alive again. The contrast to her marriage is so sharp, it almost justifies the decision on its own dot. Almost because, slowly, the new men start revealing what they actually are. The exciting one is exciting because he's unpredictable. And unpredictable means he's texting other women. He's not looking for what she left. He's looking for the next interesting thing. The attention she's receiving is real, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't build anything. She starts looking for someone who has what her ex-husband had. Reliability, depth, follow-through. But every man who has those qualities feels exactly like him. Steady, grounded, not electric. And she just left electric behind because it bored her. So she keeps cycling. Men who spark something but can't sustain anything. Men who feel exciting in the moment but disappear when it matters. And somewhere inside that cycle, a quiet realization starts building. The things she left him for not being are the exact things she can't find anywhere else. Then she sees the photo. Him with someone new. And that someone is looking at him the way she used to look at him before she started keeping score. He's smiling back. He doesn't look devastated. He doesn't look like a man who lost everything. He looks lighter. He looks like a man who finally stopped carrying weight he was never supposed to carry alone. And something inside her cracks open, not because she's jealous of the other woman, because she realizes she thought she was the prize he'd never recover from losing. She thought her absence would break him. Instead, it set him free. And she's the one who's broken. The regret that follows isn't simple sadness. It's the specific, brutal kind that comes from realizing you destroyed something irreplaceable for reasons that don't hold up when you actually examine them. She left a man who loved her quietly and consistently because quiet and consistent didn't match the version of love she'd been sold. She traded something real for something imaginary, and the imaginary thing turned out to be exactly that imaginary. Now here's what men watching this need to understand, because this part changes everything. In that marriage, he probably did everything right. He probably gave more than she gave. He probably bent over backward trying to make her happy, solve her problems, carry the emotional weight of the household. And none of it saved the marriage. In fact, all of it probably made it worse. Because here's what overgiving actually communicates to the person receiving it. It communicates need. It says, I will do anything to keep this. And when someone realizes you'll do anything, they stop valuing what you're doing. His effort wasn't read as love. It was read as desperation. His devotion wasn't seen as strength. It was seen as weakness. The harder he tried, the less attractive he became. This is the cruelest part of the whole cycle. The man who cared the most is the man most likely to be left. Not because caring is wrong, because caring without boundaries looks like someone who has no other options. And people don't treasure what they think they can never lose. The men who don't ever function. The ones who love openly but also hold their own ground. Who have lives and purposes that exist completely independent of the marriage. Those are the men women spend years trying to get back to after they've walked away from them. Because those men have the one thing her ex-husband probably never had enough of: the genuine willingness to walk away if the relationship stops working for both people. Not as a threat, as a reality. Now, if you're a woman still inside a marriage like this one, hear this clearly. Predictability is not the same thing as boring. Consistency is not the same thing as stagnation. A man who doesn't fight with you isn't emotionally dead. He's mature enough to handle conflict without turning it into chaos. A man who doesn't surprise you every week isn't checked out. He's secure enough to be himself around you, which is actually the deepest form of trust. The men who generate constant drama, constant intensity, constant uncertainty, they're not passionate. They're unstable. And instability, dressed up as passion, is one of the most dangerous things a woman can mistake for love. If something feels off in your marriage, say it directly. Tell him what you need. Be specific. Give him the chance to actually show up for what you're asking for, instead of collecting quiet grievances and building an invisible case he has no idea he's defending against. Most men in these marriages desperately want to fix things. They just can't fix what they don't know is broken. And understand this. Walking away has costs that don't show up on the day you decide to leave. They show up years later, in the quiet, in the loneliness, in the realization that what you had was not the problem you convinced yourself it was. You might find someone better, but the odds say you won't. And even if you do, you've already broken something that can't be unbroken. Here's the truth that both sides need to sit with. Marriage was never designed to feel like the first 3 months forever. It was designed to be chosen deliberately, daily, even when the feeling fades. Especially when the feeling fades. The people who make it work aren't more in love than the people who don't. They're more committed. They decided something matters more than how they feel on any given Tuesday. They honor that decision through the stretches where it's hard, where it's quiet, where the excitement is long gone and all that's left is the person you promised to stay for. That's not settling. That's the actual thing. The real version of love that doesn't come with a soundtrack or a highlight reel, just two people who keep choosing each other when it would be easier not to. The regret I'm describing isn't just a women's problem. Men destroy good marriages for shallow reasons too. But right now, in this specific moment in history, the pattern is accelerating in one direction. And it's leaving behind broken families, children growing up in split households, and adults who traded something permanent for something that was never real in the first place. If you're married to someone decent, genuinely decent, not perfect, but someone who shows up, think very carefully before you walk away. Think about what you're actually trading. Think about whether the reasons are real or whether they were built from comparison, fantasy, and the voices of people who will never have to live with what your decision costs. And if you're the man on the other side of this, the one who gave everything and watched it not be enough, know this: it was never about you. It was about her inability to see what she had while she still had it. You can't fix that. You can only build yourself into someone who stops looking for a woman who needs to learn the hard way. Someone who already knows your value. Someone who's done chasing the fantasy and is ready, finally, for something real. Have you seen this happen? Have you lived it on either side? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear what actually happened, not the version you told everyone else. Value what you have while you have it. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just different grass. And different grass still needs to be mowed.